All right, guys, what's up? This is In the New, an XFL podcast, and it is week 2 in the XFL. I'm here with my guy, Jordan.
What's up, y'all?
How you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
This is for the XFL.
XFL, X out, right there.
X out, baby.
Boom, boom.
Whoop.
It was pretty interesting week.
We'll talk about it. We'll get into it.
To say the least, it was an interesting weekend of football in the XFL. We've got a lot to cover, and Jordan, I think we need to talk about quarterback play first. And
that's what we're going to start with?
Quarterback play for me.
We can start with that.
Yeah, let me just take this for a second here with the quarterback play. I think we've got the good, the bad, and the ugly, the way I see it.
Ugh.
The good, PJ Walker.
100%.
The face of the league right now. Basically, I read a quote today. I was doing some research on PJ Walker, and actually the Steelers tried to sign him for a week contract during the this last season to prepare for when they were going to play the Baltimore Ravens. So they're going to prepare for the Baltimore Ravens. They wanted a guy like PJ Walker who emulates the game of Lamar Jackson to be their scout team quarterback for a week to get them prepared for the game. But the XFL, of course, said, no, he's one of our QBs. He's got the Tier 1 contract. He's signed, sealed, delivered. He's not going to get out of here.
All right.
So I thought that was interesting.
I did not know this.
The Steelers saw the comparison back in the day. I didn't know that either. I just found this quote online.
Well, I know that he was part of the practice squad for the Colts.
Yeah.
But he just didn't really get a lot of time with that organization. So I know that was for sure. But I did not know the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Apparently, they tried to go. The Steelers tried to get after two of the XFL quarterbacks because, of course, when Ben Roethlisberger went down, they tried to go get Landry Jones.
Yeah.
It was the backup quarterback for a while, but they said no as well. So that's an interesting story coming out of this.
So they were stuck with Doug Hodges and Mason Rudolph.
But anyways, yeah. So that's my Tier 1 guy, and of course, also the other Tier 1 guy is Cardale Jones.
No doubt, yeah, and he's been exceptional the first 2 weeks.
I mean, Cardale Jones, he's looking like the undefeated man, right? What's that stat? He's 13-0 in his
starting games,
collegiate and professional career, and it's been fun to watch him, really.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, we'll get into deeper game analysis, but that game, I mean, that offense is something to behold.
Yeah,
and I think unlike the Roughnecks, which are very reliant on PJ Walker, I think the formation and the foundation around Cardale Jones is strong. So
yeah, definitely.
We'll get into that.
And I think their whole team of the defenders look just
really
unreal. They're going to be tough to beat when it comes down to because they're just playing good all around football, all phases, offense, defense, special teams. But those are my Tier 1 guys in the good. And I don't know whether to throw Tamu out of.
It's tough
to throw him in there, but his stats don't lie. Last
phenomenal.
81% completion ratage, 284 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's where it kind of got him.
Last week, one of the interceptions, again, we'll get into this later, but he was hit on the throw. So one of them, you can kind of take away from it. One of them was just awful. He threw it into triple coverage.
So I think it's pretty safe to say we can throw him up in the bunch of elite quarterbacks.
He's leading. I saw a stat on XFL.com today that says he's leading the league in completion percentage at 83%. That says something.
He's throwing a catchable ball for sure, and
not to mention
to the open receiver
with his legs. I mean, he's a mobile quarterback just as much as PJ Walker is. So I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say.
He's a little bit more physical too. I think. You look at him; he's definitely hitting the gym strong. He's got those big arms.
He's got that Hawaiian blood.
The throwing Samoan.
He's got that. He's got that rock.
The rock
vibe in there. Yeah.
But yeah, so I would like to throw him in there, but then after those three guys, it's a bit of a drop off, right?
I mean, a bit is an understatement. I think.
Who the heck is Cornelius?
Oh, Lord.
So out of the Vipers...
Here's my question. Who is the Vipers quarterback? They have no one on that team that can play quarterback.
Well,
what are they doing?
I thought they were going to go with Flowers,
Yeah, but he wasn't
out of South Florida. He wasn't that good either. He missed a wide-open receiver on that fourth down when he got sacked.
Yeah.
So they're having a bit of a quarterback, I'm saying.
A little bit.
I'm saying right now, Tampa Bay, right there, that Florida area... Tebow.
We'll see.
But
I don't know.
He's already in spring training with the Mets right now. I did do some research on that.
Okay.
And so
I figured he was still with the Mets.
Yeah,
he's trying to get up in that.
He's just signed into spring training for them. So I think that's what he's doing right now. It's not going to happen. My football.
And honestly, why would you ever? Who would want to go on the Vipers right now? Anyways, they're a nightmare on offense.
Okay, on offense they're a nightmare, but they've got that really good they got that really good tight end, big body guy. What's
Treadwell.
his name? Yeah, Treadwell. He's looking really like a good player.
And we talked about him last week. He had a great play last week. And he made a couple good plays in this game too.
No, I think for sure he's definitely their best player on offense. But their defense,
they have some names.
They've got some good defensive players, and
it's just a nightmare over there though to me. Like watching them play offense is like watching literally a tornado hit a town because it's that bad. We'll get into it, but yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think QB play this week was much more of a problem than it was last week.
And then we're getting, maybe I left Landry Jones. He was okay. Maybe he's at least a little bit above Cornelius.
Well, the thing is, he's playing hurt.
He's playing
hurt. That was apparent.
He did throw for 305 yards, though. I did not realize he threw for that much. I was actually at that game, and I'm going to talk about that later. My experience as a fan in the stadium. Mm-hmm. Wow, that was actually a pretty fun time doing that.
I'm excited to talk about it.
So
we haven't really dived into that.
Yeah. So you're gonna hear all about it for the first time.
Great.
But Landry Jones, I did not realize that he did throw for 300 yards. He did have, of course, the 1 touchdown to 2 interception ratio, which is never good to have more interceptions than touchdowns. But he really relied heavily on that run game, and Artis Payne, and it ended up scoring a couple touchdowns for them.
Yeah.
So, and then Josh Johnson, I don't know about Josh.
He looked better than the quarterback.
He looked better than Canuck or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
But Johnson, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw to Spruce, man. Spruce is
I'll talk about it.
Spruce is awesome. Electric in the everybody gets this whole chant in the stadium, just this Spruce.
Oh yeah.
Every time he catches the ball.
Dude, it's just such a fun name.
Oh yeah. It sounds like everybody's booing, and then so a couple of the fans were like, "Are they booing?" Like, no, they're saying Spruce, man. Like
to me,
this is our guy.
I don't know if you watched highlights of the game after, but there was a moment. We'll talk about it when we get in the recap. But there was a quote that Spruce said that made my week. I loved it.
What did he say?
Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk.
Okay.
It's a little teaser.
Teaser.
We're gonna talk about it because it was hilarious.
Okay. So yeah, Spruce definitely, he's a leading receiver in the XFL right now, 192 yards. But Josh Johnson, he had that one nice completion to him down the field, but he missed them earlier in the game on the other side of the field, right where I'm sitting. I thought, Spruce lays out for it, but it was just one of those plays.
It was on 3rd down too.
Yeah, it was just lays out for it, and he just overthrew him by about a step.
In the end zone too. It was a bummer.
Like, they should have scored. The Wildcats aren't as bad as they look, okay, guys?
Turnovers.
It's turnovers, and turnovers was the name of the game. Ooh. Because the stinking running back, I don't know how many times they got to the goal line.
Elijah Hood.
They're on the goal line 3 or 4 times and just gave the ball away. Yeah. And I couldn't believe, I was sitting there just like, come on.
Yeah.
Score. That first half was brutal to just watch as a football fan, but it was fun in the stadium. The crowd and the atmosphere was definitely a good time. And then I think our last quarterback to talk about, Brandon Silver. Oh, no, we got 2 more. Brandon Silvers for Seattle. He missed a lot of throws. I mean, he's going to get better. I think he's going to get better, though. There's some upside.
I mean, how many completions did he have? He had 7.
7. We only had 91 yards, 1 touchdown.
To me, that's just showing you that, that system right now is not relying on a quarterback.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, that might be perfect for Brandon Silvers. I don't think he would be able to survive in a, Roughnecks formation or anything like that. So maybe that's the perfect fit for him. But
for sure, play good defense.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then our last guy.
We'll talk about
our last guy.
Oh, brother.
Matt
McGloin. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that was tough for.
One of the worst quarterback performances I've ever seen in my life.
He threw for 44 yards and 2 interceptions.
Yeah,
that's the stats, right?
Not to mention 44 yards on 19 attempts.
Yeah.
That is horrible.
And then the interview, the sideline, we got to talk about that.
We'll talk about it.
Once we get to these
games, we're going to talk about it.
The sideline interview, though, I'm just going to go ahead and get into it right now.
It's bad.
You cannot do that as a quarterback.
For a veteran quarterback.
A veteran quarterback who's been around the game for a while now. You cannot throw your whole organization under the bus like that. I don't care how bad everybody else is playing. As a quarterback, you're the leader of your team. You should always be the guy saying, okay, when something's good happening, it's always we. All right. When something's good, when you're getting praise, it's always a we, 100%. a we. And then when it's bad, it's always I. Mm-hmm. That's how you got to be as a quarterback. That's how a true leader is. It's always I when you're in the bad situation. And he did not. He didn't say he played bad at all. He got interviewed by a sideline reporter, and she's going, hey, what do you think you need to fix? Oh, I think we need to change everything. I mean, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and just he's demolishing his whole stinking organization, and then he ends up getting benched for it.
I mean, there's no doubt that he did that with intention. He wanted to get back at the coaching staff because he felt that the coaching staff let him down in some way. Obviously, we're not really in depth in terms of play calling for any team, but yeah, I think the problem really is that he didn't take any blame for any of it.
I don't care how
he deserved a lot of blame because he played awful the whole game. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some tension there, which is surprising because of how good the Guardians were last week.
Yeah, I think though. They played an offense that was struggling a lot, the Vipers, last week, and their defense was rolling, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, like I said, I alluded to it last week, even a math teacher could stink and play quarterback when you get playing defense like that. He could go out there and throw a couple completions and hand the ball off, and boom, you're winning the game because their defense gave up 0 touchdowns last game.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when you start to get an offense that can a little bit produce, and their defense scored a couple touchdowns, I mean, that amazing play by Marcel Frazier for that DN right over that interception on like the 5-yard line when they're trying to throw that screenplay. Yeah. But I think definitely when you're that player as a quarterback, you got to wear it on the sleeve. That's part of being the quarterback. That's the name of the game. You're getting paid the big bucks to do it. You got to be that guy. You got to be the leader.
So. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's really a shame because again, we mentioned it. He's been in professional football for a long time, and he's been around. I mean, to be fair, he mainly was in Oakland. They haven't really had a good quarterback in a long time. But again, that's no excuse for the way he reacted. And I mean, life goes on. We'll see if he can respond in week 3. Yeah. But again, not impressed at all by McGloin in that situation
for sure. All right, let's just jump into these game recaps.
Well, real quick, I think there's some other things I think in general that we talked. Obviously, we talked about quarterback play, and that kind of absorbed a lot of the discussion of the XFL. The first 2 weeks. I just think in general, the offenses just haven't been explosive, and that's a shock for a lot of people. Just
especially with the rules, the way they're set
We
up.
talked about it last week. The rules, the way it's set up, you would expect major offense, and we saw it in the first 2 games of the XFL. We saw it last week and Saturday. So, but this week. We saw a shutout. We saw, again, the Vipers and the Dragons struggle on offense. We saw, again, also, too, that the Renegades, they didn't get going until way later, as did the Wildcats.
Really, that game was the fourth quarter, and that was it the whole rest of the time.
Exactly.
I'm sitting there just going, is this game started
So
yet?
there was just no offense, and I think that should be a concern for the XFL moving forward because it's meant to be an offensive league. It's not meant to be a defensive league.
No.
So I think that's something that they're definitely going to have to look at, and they're definitely going to have to figure out where they should go after 2 weeks of certain teams, particularly the Vipers. I'm going to shred the Vipers when we get into this game recap because they're that bad. Just seeing teams like that not be able to execute on offense is a little disturbing. And then also not to mention, and we talked about it, and Pat McAfee talked about it on his show, just the lack of competitive teams is also a little frightening. When you look at, there's 2 main teams that everyone's just going to talk about right off the bat. That's the Defenders and the Roughnecks. Those are the 2 teams that have looked very, very impressive in all aspects of football in the first 2 weeks. Other than that, there's been flaws in every other franchise that are glaring, and it makes it seem like, can these teams keep up with the 2 main teams, especially with PJ Walker? There's no one in the league right now that's mimicking his style of play.
Yeah.
So we're wondering, okay, and not to mention they're playing great defense. The Roughnecks are playing top defense.
Same with the Defenders.
Exactly. So, to me, there's 2 teams that are nearly perfectly run, and the other teams, there's a lot of flaws and a lot of errors that need to be solved. And I think, again, that's another thing that the XFL will have to continue to figure out throughout, their journey in the next few weeks. Do I think that it's going to blow up in their faces and it's going to completely dissolve? No. I think, so far, execution in terms of just the way it's mass-produced, the fans, I think the league itself has so much potential to grow, but in terms of competition, that's definitely something that we're going to have to keep our eyes on throughout the season.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. But that's something that I just immediately thought of right away, and I think they're just going to figure it out. That's really it. But overall, there was a lot of solid plays this week, a lot of exciting plays. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was a good second week, and I thought it did a good job in terms of I haven't seen ratings.
Oh, I looked it up, actually. Okay. TV ratings. So first week, they were 2.9 million.
Yeah.
And then they dropped to 2.3 million.
That's not even that bad.
It's not bad of a drop at all. So I think and it's expected. There's a lot more hype going into week 1. You're like, oh, everybody's but that's not a bad drop at all.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I mean, again, I think realistically the formula is there and it will succeed. Just hopefully throughout time these offenses start to develop and grow. So with that being said, if you have anything else you want to add, we'll just go straight.
No, I think that's it. Yeah, game recaps.